The High Archivist tapped his stylus on his beak, and obviously displayed distaste, both for the current droll errand he was assigned to perform, but also to the company he was with. "Oi, Beaky!" the mercenary captain called in his gruff, abrasive bark. The mercenary crew were rough, crude and only barely legitimate. "What are we trotting out to this fringe system for again? There ain't never any good spores to be got in places like that." The High Archivist rolled its entire head like an eyeball that his central grid of crystalline lattice segmented eye was incapable of displaying. He hated being with these brutish, rather porking thugs. They were gruff, brash, greedy, and were shown to be rather foolishly impulsive. But the High Council thought an armed security detail was prudent on this uncertain assignment. "Once again, Blork, my name is Clickitty Bickitty Boom Bum, and I already told you 3 times now Hey, it's Captain Blork to use, dorky admin types. And there ain't no way I can ever say that name with a straight face, so Beaky it is. Now remind me again, if you will. I need to know what kind of fighting we might expect." Beaky ruffled his 12 layers of finely layered and woven beaks at the insult of his perfectly normal name, and began again, struggling to remain professional in spite of the insults. "This system has obfuscated its trade logs, and hasn't paid its betterment for all tariff in several cycles. We are to assess their situation, determine their reasons for hiding their logs, and calculate and collect on their back tariffs." "Oh, so you're saying they may have gone rogue and we get to bash some heads? You hear that, boys?" Yips and growls of excited crewmates sounded from behind the command flag bridge. "Well, possibly. It depends greatly on what we find when we get there." The mercenary ship was a perpetual grey zone of permitted civilian regulations in practically every aspect that was observed. Its far too many anti-asteroid navigation cannons were far too large in caliber and widespread in firing arcs. Its docking clamps were oversized and overpowered, capable of grabbing onto a ship frosting and moving under power. Its field repair drones were far too well equipped, and were themselves capable of cutting a ship in half. Its sensors were far too powerful and brutal to be justified. Without having to look too hard past the many squeaked-by certification licenses, the ship would clearly appear to be a pirate raider. In short time, the ship hyperjumped into the system. Everyone could tell right away there was something unusual there. "Oi, look at the size of that thing," Brock said with clear avarice in his eyes. It was a ship, in far orbit around the populated system world. A gigantic ship, clearly heavily damaged, with pits and jagged holes through its structure visible even at the current distance. It appeared to be derelict, no power or heat coming from the hulk. Now, Beaky said nervously, starting to think his mercenary contingent may go mutiny on this mission, at the sight of the admittedly interesting prize. "We are not here to investigate salvage, we are here to speak to the governor about—" "Salvage? Look at that thing! That thing there is a warship! Just look at all those gun blister things! That ain't no bloody salvage, Beaky, that's a gold mine! Maybe even a new base of operations! Oh, we are putting things aside for a bit, and gonna have a look." And there it was. A mutiny, already. But truth be told, Beaky was greatly intrigued by the derelict hulk himself, and allowed himself a little excitement to catalogue just what it was about, so guiltily went along. For now. As the mercenary ship approached the derelict, and deployed its field repair drones that began to spread out to encircle the hulk, the system arose in alert. Broadcast blasted from the surface and moons. "Halt! Do not board the Grand. We will prevent any action towards that ship with force if need be." Brock scoffed at first, then quieted down when he detected the many police cutters racing up to cut their approach off. He wisely stood down and awaited instructions. The system governor himself would be up shortly to meet them at an orbital platform showing the orbit near the Grendel, where they could speak. Beaky beamed excitedly. Well, this worked out just perfectly. As they docked to the orbital platform and walked out, They had a wonderful view of the Hulk through the atmospheric shielding, making the platform an ideal observation place to do whatever they did do with Grendel. The governor shortly arrived, and the introductions were met, with the system police force holding the perimeter around the platform for a time, before returning to base once everything was calm. The mercenary team stood arrayed out from the airlock as a sort of security for Beaky, but all of them were staring up at the giant, slowly tumbling ship with greed. "I apologize for the impropriety. My mercenary security team were a little over-curious, is all. I am High Archivist Clickitty Bikitty Boom Bum, and we, Why the strange face? Did I say something inappropriate? As I was saying, we have initially come to discuss matters of state, but this strange Hulk has rather caught our attention." "Ah, yes, about that. I am Governor Marshall King. Why the face? Oh, yeah, that is unfortunate. I've had to deal with that my entire service. In any case, I expect the matters of state and the, Hulk, as you call it, are in fact closely related. We find our terrorists are more adequately suited tending to old Grendel here, as part of our vow of favour with the old girl, and her kin." Beaky held back his excitement, trying to act professional, and not about to jump and hoot around excitedly. "So, does she speak? How did this vow come to fruition?" "Oh, no, she don't speak. She's quite dead. But there are ghosts in there, that's for sure. Grendel is old enough to have a few tricks to be had." Beaky leaned forward, intently scanning the derelict hull as it slowly tumbled and rolled a quarter-mile away. "Very old indeed. By the cosmic ray pitting off his armor, such weathering would need 1 billion years to get that bad." 1.2 billion, by our estimate. "Do we know the race?" "Unknown. But don't they long since dust?" "What does she want?" "To rest, for now. The ghost of Grendel is very tired, but her kin spirits made clear the meaning of the vow, and we swore its favour immediately." Brock snorted in derision. Beaky motioned for him to be silent. It didn't work. "Backworld superstition, lousy folk tales, bald petty lord daydreams." He suddenly raised his rifle and racked around. "That's it. I'm taking over this whole operation." He radioed his ship. "Get the salvagers and scanners powered up." Cap?" "Don't yous interrupt me. I'm in the middle of giving orders here. Now that I'm the boss around here, things are gonna be..." "No, look. Seriously, Cap. Look behind you." Brock spun, expecting an attack or something, and flinched so hard he nearly dropped his rifle. Because the Grendel, that had been slowly rolling and spinning, was now stopped, pointing straight at the captain. The gaping maw of his front end looming over him like an amphitheatre with its sheer scale, the massive barrel of his spinal-mounted gun pointing straight at his chest. A faint, dark purple sort of unlight flickered like embers from the jagged tears in the hull, and from the far bottom end of the massive gun barrel. "What the... hell? You mangy fool! You couldn't have told me sooner?" Sorry, Cap. It was spinning so slowly, so naturally it caught us by surprise. We didn't really notice anything either until we were suddenly looking straight down the barrels of the side blisters. All of them. What are the orders, Captain?" Governor Marshall cleared his throat. "I think it's pretty clear that you should leave this system, immediately." Beaky looked from the governor to his mercenary captain. "Oh, and you're fired. Breach of contract, mutiny, and attempted piracy by my count. Get out of my sight. I'll find my own way home." Brock blustered as he herded his confused soldiers to the airlock, glancing up at the Grendel, unnervingly still keeping the main gun barrel on his chest, as he moved around. "But it's a dead ghost ship, ain't no such thing." "You fool," Beaky said, with a mix of excitement and vindication. "Wrong kind of dead. Grendel isn't a ghost ship, she's a zombie ship. The vow of favour was to the zombie fleet itself." Brock shook his head in denial. "Children's stories," he said, as he slammed the airlock shut, and his ship rocketed away. As the governor flew the High Archivist down to the world, they chatted, So, is our system secret and bookkeeping errors safe? I should think so. You are providing a valued service. Most should never know what's truly going on. But tell me, I must know, what is this vow of favour about? It's an old human Viking thing. As far as we can tell for the interactions, our vow of favour to them is that they can show up and are welcomed in to dock, to resupply, to take, with our full permission. Take? What would they ever, want? It's hard to tell with them. Sometimes it is very expensive refined reactor fuel. Sometimes it's gravel they want. Sometimes they just want to feel pitter-patter of little feet running among their passageways. They especially value the spontaneous laughter of children, especially the most warlike ones. They mostly just crave the vibrancy of life from time to time. BQ was logging this info as quickly as he could to his private encrypted datapad. How very interesting. Is Grendel one of the warlike ones? One of the worst. Poor girl is haunted. That gun she aimed at the captain? That was a planet cracker. Grendel wasn't a warfighter, she was a conflict ender. Oh my. So you show them favour that way? I think I get it. That seems kind of a steep price, however. Oh, it's not so bad. The vow of favour has two sides to it, after all. Now I don't get it again. What favour can the zombie fleet do for you? You saw a bit of it today. What do you think happens to those who threaten their favourite port of call? Ah, yes, of course. Well, certainly nothing to report on here. Thank you so much for this rare and incredible insight. You're very welcome. We'll be happy to pay for your return. Let's see, I have to give it a shot here while we're alone. Clickety, bickety, wickety, pickety, boom boom? Close enough. Aren't you worried about my former associate spilling the secret? Oh, those buffoons won't last long. They are being tracked as we speak. The zombie fleet has a policy for people that point guns at people, and take by force what was never theirs, as you may be aware. Oh, indeed. I certainly am glad we parted ways. I didn't think of that.